Welcome back, everyone. Normally on this segment, we feature a project around the house that I'm working on, but today we're going to do something very different. I think you're going to love this.
This is really different. You are going to love it.
Today, I'm going to bring you along with me on an adventure, all the way up to 10,000 feet and back down again. And along the way, I'm going to do a short but heartfelt review on the movie that inspired it all. Normally, we think of watching movies as a passive activity, even kind of a lazy one, laying around on the couch in a dark room, binge watching Netflix. And there's some truth to that. But the other side is that movies can activate our imagination, and they can inspire and animate our real life activities. When I was young, my friends and I were obsessed with playing basketball and improving our game. Sure, we would watch our favorite NBA stars, we'd practice their moves and trade their cards, but we would also watch all the basketball movies from those days, memorizing the lines, bringing them out on the court with us. I remember movies like Heaven is a Playground, a little-known movie featuring the real-life basketball greats Bo Kimble and Akeem Olajuwon. It was about a guy who created a talent farm for college basketball recruiters in the notoriously violent Cabrini Green housing project on Chicago's North Side. Above the Rim, with the lead role played by Tupac Shakur, it's the story of an up-and-coming high school ball player with a lot of maturing to do. Ultimately, it's a story of redemption, of facing our demons, and the dangers we face when we don't face up to our personal challenges and are seduced by the dark side of life. And the classic White Men Can't Jump, the story of two playground hustlers played by Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson, with the memorable supporting role played by the 90s superstar Rosie Perez. For us, these movies were way more than a lazy pastime. These provided some real motivation. But the movie I'm going to talk to you about today has nothing to do with basketball. The movie I'm talking about here is Point Break. Point Break is the 1991 classic directed by Catherine Bigelow and produced by James Cameron. It's often described as an action film, but I hate that description for it because it's so much more than that. And today I'm going to bring you on an adrenaline-packed adventure with me that's been inspired by this movie.
Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll. Everybody freeze!
No, I'm not talking about robbing a bank. I'm talking about skydiving. But before we get into the story of my personal adventure, let me just set up the review of this movie real quick. Now, I'm going to avoid any major spoilers here because Point Break is over 30 years old already, believe it or not, and a lot of people who are viewing this video right here have maybe never seen it. I want to encourage any of you who haven't seen it to go check out this film. I already mentioned that I consider this to be way more than a simple action film. Action films are known for their fight scenes, high-speed chase sequences, and shootouts. And yeah, Point Break has all of these, but this movie has a philosophical depth and a moral ambiguity that will leave you with plenty to think about long after the credits have finished rolling. This is something that can rarely be said of your typical blockbuster Hollywood action film. All these years of talking about we should try skydiving, how would it feel to jump out of a perfectly good airplane?
Donnie, you're about to jump out of a perfectly good airplane. How do you feel about that?
I booked it last night. Here I am on the road. Something like skydiving, we all know statistically that it's a pretty safe activity to do. Probably more likely to have a fatality here talking to this camera on the road. So I haven't told a person about this. Nobody knows I'm on my way out to go skydiving right now. Maybe because I'd like to keep it as kind of a surprise. A part of me also wonders that maybe why I didn't tell anybody is because on some level, I'm thinking, what if I end up not wanting to do it or backing out of it? Honestly, I don't think that's going to be the case because the fact is that I'm not really going to feel real nervous about it until I'm up in that plane, and at that point, there's just no chance that I'm gonna go back. So I don't really think it's that. Every once in a while, when I think about the moment of actually looking down and jumping out, yeah, I feel a little bit nervous. But right now, I'm just kind of enjoying the ride. It's a beautiful day. At least it looks like I'll be able to jump in the sunshine. In the interest of keeping this review somewhat brief, we're going to focus on the dynamic between the main two characters in the film, played by Keanu Reeves and by Patrick Swayze. There's a lot we could say about the excellent performances here by Gary Busey, who is the veteran FBI agent.
Utah, give me 2.
Or by John C. McGinley, the head of the FBI's bank robbery unit.
If you even knew that you knew nothing, that'd be something, but you don't.
Yes, sir.
But we simply don't have time for that in this review. So let's begin by introducing these two main characters of the movie. The first is Johnny Utah, a young, hotshot FBI special agent fresh out of training at the FBI Academy in Quantico, Virginia. He's highly confident, even a little bit cocky, but likable.
Zero distortion, sir. I love these things.
Then you have Bodie, who's played by Patrick Swayze. From the first time we're introduced to Bodie, it's obvious that he's not just another surfer at the beach.
That's Bodhi. They call him the Bodhisattva.
He's venerated by the locals almost mythologically, kind of a modern-day mystic. Buddhist in his ambivalence towards this world and its values, stoic in his eagerness to face death at every opportunity.
You want the ultimate, you gotta be willing to pay the ultimate price. It's not tragic to die doing what you love.
Through Johnny's undercover work, he meets his future romantic interest, Taylor, who, as it turns out, used to date Bodie. Once again, we see how similar the movie's two main characters really are, despite being on opposite sides of the law. As an anima figure, Taylor represents a sharing of that deep part of the psyche that leads a man at the same time towards life and towards death. Johnny trailed Bodie in the spiritual development, mirroring his pursuit of Bodie the criminal in the real world. Bodie is the teacher and Johnny is the pupil. Both of them are spiritual figures in that they're guided by a higher principle for which they're willing to trade life itself. But the dark side of their denial of the physical life becomes clear in the second half of the movie, as the two main characters escalate their game. Bodie decides to up the ante during a bank heist and go for the vault, and lives are lost for the first time. In a parallel scene shortly after, Johnny makes the frivolous decision to pursue Bodie to the Santa Monica airport, leading to a similar outcome, in addition to risking Taylor's life, the person he is supposedly working to save.
Hello, David.
Hello. At a surface level, the final scene provides a resolution to most of the movie's open plot lines. But the viewer is left with many questions and doubts as it cuts out to the credits, and in that ambiguity lies the true brilliance of this film. Who was the hero? And who was the villain, if there even was one? And did we really just find ourselves rooting for two characters who caused so much chaos and loss of life? The crashing waves are symbolic of the vast power of the unconscious mind, and to voluntarily submit and become dissolved in that is either madness or a type of enlightenment observed very rarely in this life. Watch this movie and decide for yourself.
Skydiver.
That was wild.
Right, give me a nice high
pure
five.
adrenaline.
100% pure adrenaline. Other guys snort for it, jab a vein for it, and all you gotta do is jump.
Oh wow, that was a wild experience, no doubt about it. Right before jumping is where it got really real for me. The other thing is that after I started falling, I didn't feel nervous at that point at all. So was it a life-changing type of experience? Maybe. But facing fears is one of those daily practice type of things. Some days are better than others, but I'm feeling good about this today.